The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed on this show belong solely to Let's Talk TCI Real Estate and not that of Keller Williams TCI or any of its affiliates. Any action you take upon the information provided on this show is strictly at your own risk, and Let's Talk TCI Real Estate guests or hosts will not be liable for any losses and damages in connection with the use of the material. I am not an investment advisor, broker, or dealer. And we're going to start by asking our guest panelist to introduce himself and tell us a bit about the company that he works with.
Yes, the company I work with. Company name is Paradigm Concept and Design. We are a design build company which partner with in and out construction. And the company, we do a large range of stuff, including building residential buildings, commercial buildings, and for architecture, we do design work, and these design work can range from residential to commercial, as well as schools and etc.
All right, thank you. So so I'm going to dive right into all the questions. Can you tell me if your company provides a project management service, whereas after you have completed a design for a customer, is that the end of it, or do you provide a project management service whereas you have completed the drawing, you supervise to ensure that the drawings are built by the builders to the specified plans that you have completed for the customer?
Yes, we do provide a management service, and management service is very important in the industry in regards to architecture and construction. Therefore, anytime you design a building and it needs to be built, it's best for an architect to be there from start to finish. Therefore, making sure that the building is built according to approved plans.
Okay. And so how does an architect charge for drawings? Is the cost based on a flat fee, or is it like a percentage based on square footage?
Well, it varies based on the architect and how they charge, and every architecture firm charge as per their liking. You can charge by the square foot, or by the construction cost, or by a flat rate, but it all depends on the medium of the project. Therefore, it entails, or it forces you to charge a certain way. Some projects will entail other partners like engineers, so therefore you would have to therefore charge by, for example, the percent rate, making sure you have enough funds to pay them. Main thing. And therefore there are some projects that are very simple, so therefore you can charge a client a flat rate. It all depends on you and the client.
Okay, that's good to know. So let me just say this, because we are talking about charging per square footage. I'm just asking, do you have just say someone purchased a piece of land and they want to build? Is it possible that you can just take not just any drawing, but like you may have a specified, like a cookie cutter drawing that you can put on the land? Is it possible to do something like that? And if yes, do you have like a standard cookie cutter drawing that you can suggest to customers who come looking for a quick drawing?
Yes, cookie cutter. Some architects do and some don't. I do, and it all depends on the type of project. For example, a one-bedroom plan only could be designed in so many ways, whereas a two-bedroom plan and so many square foot. So therefore, you will have a number of them lying around and you can sell them. But it all depends on the client again. Maybe the client want a high-end two-bedroom or one-bedroom. So therefore, you won't find that lying around. So once there's something typical, two-bedroom, two baths, of course, I would have one of those lying around, and therefore you can sell a client. Whereas, especially if they're looking for a a starter home, something quick, something simple, yes, that's the way to go.
Okay, so basically more of the starter homes will come in that cookie cutter floor plan that you can assist with. Okay.
Correct.
So what advice or suggestions can you give to persons who are looking for a plan to help them reduce costs, not just architect costs, but also building costs?
Um, Reduce costs, there are a number of things in the architectural world. And reduce costs, I would say, you want to have something that is, say, simple, square, rectangle. Therefore, it doesn't cost a lot to keep also the construction cost down based on the number of columns you use, etc. Also, when it comes to materials, you also want to keep that down, whereas you wouldn't go high end. You want something that it's in the medium range that looks nice but doesn't cost a lot. Plan wise, you want to keep something that's probably open concept, where you don't have a lot of different rooms, whereas you keep down the cost on the actual construction for the number of walls. So that advice, I think, is something they should always think about. Open plan, less rooms, open space.
Well, I know us people, we like more rooms and we like
And
sections.
that is why I point that out, because in our culture, they want a room for the dining, the room for the front room, the room for this, and the room for that. Whereas when you look at it, it's all spaces. So therefore, you can define space rather than having a wall, unless you're really trying to block it out as using the wall for boundaries. That's a difference. But just space-wise, it's many ways you can do it.
Okay. So what is an estimate time frame for completion of a drawing? I know it depends on the scale, how large, I mean, when I say scale of the drawing, I mean how much work needs to be done, but what's an estimated time frame you can think of just for something that's simple starter home drawing?
Well, again, every architect has their own speed. For me, I like to get it in and get it out. I like to do things very quickly. You have two phases, the design phase. Sometimes that can take a while, and the reason being is every client should design something based on their liking. And if they're not happy with it, they have to work it and work until they're happy with it. And I would always say so. But once you pass that point, in order to get something done and where it's get to planning, for me, I'll always give a week or two, 3 weeks the max.
Okay. And because you mentioned planning, I will ask you then, how is it, I mean, how do you calculate costs based on what planning is going to charge you for a drawing?
Planning cost is calculated based on the construction cost, which they use a percent of that. And that's how they get their fees. And within their fees, they have a form that actually have within the so many hundreds, whereas 100,000 to 200,000, you pay, I think, around about $150 or $300. And once you go over $1 million, then they'll calculate it by 0.3%. So that's how they come up with their fees and what to pay to the government.
So just to reiterate, you said, so it's based on construction costs. So there's a flat fee based on, say, a house cost, just saying we know how the stone costs $250,000 like that around here, but then there will be a set fee for that amount.
Correct. Once it falls in the range, for example, in the range of, say, 400,000 to 500,000, you'll pay $750. Once whatever the calculated cost is for that house. Just remember now, a two-bed what you're putting it, right? So I don't want one to think that because you go to planning and based on the cost, even though it's a small two-bedroom, it costs so much. It's based on the value per square foot and the value of everything. But once it falls in that range, you have a flat fee.
Okay, that's good to know. And on another subject I want to ask, as an architect and doing drawings, do you also do like mutation of properties? Because that also falls along the line of, drawing before it gets to planning. Just for example, somebody has a home, they've already constructed it, but for any simple reason, even if they want to separate it and make too small a lots out of it. Is that something that you can do as an architect? And what does this process involve, if yes?
Yes, mutation, first of all, I must say, actually involves a surveyor. That's actually their jobs. Architects, yes, we can do a lot with it, or some of it, I would say mainly. Until recently, they actually put their laws in place, only certain things we can do. And they are as follow. If you have a vacant piece of lot and you want to, for example, cut it into two, divide it into two, therefore I can divide that based on what's the client want, 50 or 20, 80, whatever the percentage they want. Take it to planner, get it approved, and therefore it goes on to grantor to register. But if the piece of property therefore has an existing building on, whether you bought it or you built it and you decide to cut this off, therefore then you must involve a surveyor, because they then have to go there and put the coordinates of the location of where that house is on that property. Therefore, it has to be recorded. So architects don't have that power, they don't have the license, and they don't have the equipment. Therefore, unlike me, I tend to work with all those guys. So if someone were to come to me and say, hey, I would like to do something of that nature, therefore, yeah, I can say yes. In saying yes, therefore, I contact who I work along with, and we get the job done.
Oh, so one more question in reference to the mutation. So, for example, if someone who is thinking about, say, doing a housing scheme and they have an acre lot, I would think that if you're working with an architect, just say for the drawings, it will be good to start with the architect for the mutation process, because they can tell you exactly what's the best lot sizes to subdivide the property in to get the whole housing scheme work. Would you say yes or no to that? Still,
I
you would.
would say yes. I would say yes, and I've had that happen before. And what it does is based on the design. People who cut their property and or divide it into a number of pieces, most likely they have a design in mind, or they're gonna sell it. But in doing so, you must cut it to the point where it's billable. You don't want to chop piece off, therefore it cannot even hold a two bedroom. So therefore, if someone were to come to me, my question would be, why are you selling it, or why are you cutting it? First of all, why are you cutting it? If they say they want to sell it, therefore I would ask, well, if you sell it, what would you intend for the person who's purchasing it put there? So if they already have a dwelling home there, I'm guaranteed they don't want to have another dwelling home there. So most likely they want that person to have a small house, just saying. So therefore they'll cut off just enough to put a size house on. And that's where the architect comes in and designing that part to make sure that at the end of the day, the owner is happy, and the proposed owner who would be purchasing is happy. So the architect, I'll go with yes.
Okay. So from a design standpoint, I'll ask, what suggestions can you give to persons who are building that can make their home more marketable or improve the value of the home? And I specifically am asking this question because, from a real estate standpoint, you see a lot of people come, they bring their houses, and at first they buy a house or they decide they're going to build a house, and they don't think about resale in future, because we always say, hey, I'm never going to sell my home, and then something happens and you want to sell. So what, from a design standpoint, what suggestions can you give to a person who is considering building from scratch, that to make their home more marketable or to improve on the value?
I would say first, keep an open mind. Keep an open mind. That's how I like to design. Keep an open mind, knowing that future, maybe it might be sellable. And if that's the case, I would go with open concept floor plan. I would go with 10 high ceilings. I would go with a lot of natural lighting, um, large windows. I would go with making sure maybe there's a pool in the yard, making sure the the house is orientated in a way where it don't get too many sun in the afternoon or in the morning. making sure it's orientated based on the wind. We have a lot of natural ventilation. But that's based on architecture. And when it comes to construction, I would say if you want to sell it, therefore there's always a budget. But at this case, you gotta more or less be right above your budget, up at a notch. You know, when you come to your kitchen, you put nice granite, or rather than going ceramic, you go porcelain tile or travertine. You know, and nowadays also you have this new style is taking over. So therefore, you want to look into, hey, which style do I actually build this? Which one of those style a person will just pass by or drop by and say, hey, I like your house, I would like to purchase. So just be open minded and keep it simple.
Okay. So then what are some of the some of the common mistakes that you see customers make when deciding on a drawing for their home or business that you can share to help others not make the same mistakes?
Some of the mistakes they make is you find them, some of them don't really do their homework as in what they really want to do. They don't really think about the function of the project, whether it be a home or whether it be a commercial project. So therefore, I would say take the time out and do their investigation as in what they really want to do and how it would benefit them in the future. You know, also when it comes to commercial spaces, as in you design it for one thing, but keep an open mind as in what it has to be used for something else. When you place it on the property, rather than put it in the center of the property, put it to the side or to the back, because you never know what you can use the other part of the property for. You know, you have to think about those things. Some people like to say that, oh, I want a big old backyard, but the question is what you're going to do with it. You know, so, and that's what I say, plan it, meaning that for residential, if you think you're going to put a pool, well, leave just enough space for that. And therefore, try think about the other part of the property, whereas you can, like you say, mutate it and sell it, or put a guest house, or put two guest houses. You know, just plan it right. You know, forms follow function. You must do that.
So basically think about future improvements that you
Of course.
right. Okay. So I do have a few other questions. I'm just looking at the Facebook feed. I don't see any questions, but if anyone have any questions at this time, please feel free to share them. Otherwise, I'm just going to move forward with a few additional questions. We did start late, so we're moving on pretty quickly with the show today. So there is a growing number of vacation rental villas that are being built in the Turks and Caicos. Um, for persons who are thinking about also, having a vacation rental, what what are some of the styled homes that you see are being built that others can follow suit after? Like
Now,
what works as
lately,
a vacation rental?
the growing stream or the new thing now is modern design. Well, it's not actually new. It's new to Turks and Caicos, but it was around from the early 1900s, the modern design. But now I see a lot of people, they took to them, which is a great thing. And it's one of my styles based on Kabu. Um, that style there has a lot of advantage, I would say, because what it does, it gives you the opportunity to take advantage of the whole 100% of it. Because most of the time you find it comes in different heights, levels, and it has very unique way. Therefore, you can take advantage of the flat roofs, whereas you can use them for rooftops, sunbathing, or even if you have a piece of property and you're not on a hill and have a view. But by building that two-story villa, I would say, which is a modern design, you therefore by the time you get up there, which is about say 20 feet, you'll be able to see the water, and that's enough, breathtaking. So that is one design I kind of take to, even though it's not a design based on Turks and Caicos, but it's something that has been taken over. And it also allows you to bring your outdoor space indoor, meaning that lots of glass and natural light and feeling like you're outside but you're inside, and you have your open concept floor, and that's what it's all about, and having a pool and all this sorts of stuff. So I do like that design, and that's the one I think it's taken over, and a lot of persons that visit here, they really liked it.
Okay, so basically, like you say, indoor, outdoor spaces, flat roofs, taking advantage of the views and the contemporary concept. That's what's working for
Yes.
the vacation rental village.
Yes, that's what I think is really working for them. And that because when people come here, they want to be outdoors. So imagine if you in a living room and you have a sheet of glass, and the only thing is blocking you is that glass. You feel like it's outside. And on that inside right there, you have this breathtaking view of maybe the ocean, or it's just a nice view down a mile down there and you can see the water. And I think that's what they come here for. And that's the only thing that actually do that. Don't get me wrong, we can take a traditional house and still do the same thing. But the traditional house, I'm not gonna hit the traditional house. But the traditional house, we gotta get rid of all the walls. And we when it comes to the roof, we know right now based on hurricane, the flat roofs, like the villas I'm talking about, are the way to go in terms of being the best secure or the strongest based on concrete all sides where you have your floor, your walls, and roof. So, but even though with the traditional homes, there are ways you can enhance it where it look just as good or almost as good as the villas. So you have your option. It's all based on your design with your architect as in what you want. Because one may come and they say, I don't like the flat roofs. I don't like it, but I like the look of it. So therefore, that architect has to find a way to incorporate the look of the flat roof, but still giving you a traditional roof. And it's being done.
Okay, so that's like you said, it's good for hurricanes as well as it provides a dual purpose while still being
Yes.
strong.
Yes.
Well, that's good. Okay, so just say in doing any drawing, um, definitely you will need to know what kind of material that you are going to be building with in order to make accommodation for those things in your measurements in your design. So can you explain to us for planning purposes what are some of the materials that is acceptable by planning and what type of material is not acceptable?
Based on planning and building code, the material they accept are 8-inch block or concrete in general, poured concrete, 8-inch block walls. Um, and when it comes to the roof, it can be either concrete, and that can be flat or angle or pitch roof, as well as it can be our traditional roof, which is shingles, even though we're trying to get away from that, or it's metal roofing. What they do not do or accept is wooden structures. They do not. And the main reason for that is two. One is fire, and the other one is hurricanes. They blow down very easily, so they do not want any kind of wood structures within our region. Unacceptable.
Okay.
And the other one too, container houses. They don't want that either.
Is it because of the salt content of the air that they don't want the container houses?
I think, and don't hold me against this, but I think what it is that when you look at a container, I think it has to do with salt because they do rust and rot, to be honest. And what it is also, I think, is the industrial look. Don't get me wrong, you could get a container home and you can clad the inside and outside, and you wouldn't even tell. You know what I mean? You wouldn't even tell. But I think that's one of the reasons, based on the industrial look, based on the soil, based on maybe it rots. And the question is how you root it to the actual ground as in a foundation. I'm just talking based on me, not planning department. That's what I think. And the other thing is too, a lot of people that maybe even want a container house would not even say clad the outside or make it look, you know, user friendly based on a house that next door, which is a villa, for example. You know what I mean? They'll put it there and it's just there. So what it does, it devalue the property or which it on if you start using container homes, and if it is not fixed up. I've seen a lot online and they are nice, very nice, and I
Right.
like them. But I think planning probably they don't want to go that route because some people or persons may not do the whole full 9 yards in regards to that. They would just get it, cut a hole in the door, window, and that's it. And we don't want that. I don't want that either.
Right. So because you talk about container home, this is the last question I'm going to ask, and then we're going to wrap it up. Container homes leads me to like prefab home. So is that I know that they allow prefab home because we have a number of them here. So would you say that just even cost wise, is it more expensive? Is it cheaper to build a prefab home, or is it just because it's quicker to build? So would you recommend a prefab home, or just stay with a conventional blocks?
I would say the conventional homes, prefab homes, like you say, they are quicker, and sometimes they can be strong too, based on what their specs are. You know what I mean? Most prefab home, by the time they get here or get to their location, it's like putting a puzzle together, and which is very quick. But most of the time, too, those prefab homes or who build them, they try to build them most as inexpensive as they can get them. So anytime you want to do that, you have to take it to planning department and let them see what you're trying to bring in, and they're gonna say yes or no. Because when you look at the market for that, it's a big market out there, and there are various prices. And you and I both know one would go for the cheapest one, and the cheapest one wouldn't be the right one. So
Correct.
bringing that here, and before you know it, hurricane come, you're down on the ground, don't make sense. I would stick with my conventional homes.
Okay, sounds good to
Just
me.
keep it simple.
Yeah. Okay, so just to wrap it up, is there any advice that you would give to those looking to build, be it a business complex or residential home from an architectural standpoint?
I would say advice would be always has a budget. Always have a budget, and when you bill in, right? Have a budget, have a square footage in mind, even though one might know what it is, but just have something to go on because everything is done based on square foot, right? Um, Keep it simple. When it comes to materials, I wouldn't say go get the cheapest materials or go get the most inexpensive materials, but just make sure it look nice. It's nice to go in a space and you see, for example, a table there, and it looks so nice. It even looked like mahogany, but it's not. It's coated. You know what I mean? So what it
Right.
does, it do the trick for a year or 2 or 5 years. Whereas you can go and purchase that same table for a ton of money and it stay there forever. So just have a budget. And once you have a budget, I would just stick to your budget. There's sometimes you're gonna go over your budget. And it's good sometimes to go over your budget because when you look at what you're purchasing that for, it's only $100 or two more. So why not? You know what I mean? Have a have a budget, then have a max budget. And therefore I think you would be okay. And keep it simple. Keep it simple. And when it comes to properties, I would say if you could find a flat piece of property, purchase it. Yeah, you find a hillside has a view, purchase it, but just remember you're gonna spend a little more on construction, but then spend a little more based on your architect. He should be able to help you to design that space where it's usable. You know what I mean? Also, sometimes you want to make sure your property has a view. Fine. Therefore, you find a design that works. But like we were saying early on, design a house, flat roof, use the top, and at the end of the day, you can do just as much as the person who on the beach or on the canal. You know what I mean?
Correct.
At a cost that is maybe 4 times less than what you pay. So that would be my advice.
Okay. Well, yeah, thank you so much. I think that is sound advice. And one of the things you did say was, like you said, don't, it's like, don't overcomplicate it. Stay simple. That usually works most of the times. Yes. So please give
Yes.
the listening audience your contact information just in case there's someone out there who are looking to use your services, your professional services as an architect.
Of course. My contact phone number 242 or 649 242 9132, and email it's Outten, that's Outten dot P's and Paul, C's and cat, D's and dog at gmail.com. And so like our slogan, making dreams become a reality. That's what we do.
Well, thank you so much, Shane, for joining us today. Thank you. A lot of information was passed on. And for those of you who we did start a little late, so if you didn't catch the show from the initial, please replay this video um, and get those information that you missed out on. Thank you for all those who are listening. I just want to say next week's show, we're going to shake it up a little bit. We're going to have someone from the soil of North Caicos who are actually going to be talking to us about investment in North Caicos, opportunities in North Caicos. So until next time, stay safe and be blessed. Thank you for watching.